Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast and happy holidays!
Happy holidays! And today we're covering the action movie and somehow holiday movie classic.
Yes, this is a Christmas movie!
Yes.
And something really different from what we usually cover, but trust us, you're going to want to watch this movie over the holiday season if you already haven't.
Right. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification updates on future podcasts and all the pause videos.
Absolutely. Now, I've seen this movie many times, plus the sequels, except for number 5, but Rascal had never seen Die Hard. So not only was it a joy to watch it with her, but she brought something extra special to my watching of Die Hard, this time with the Artemis Fowl origin story.
Yeah, somehow it keeps going back to this. It's like, how many times are you going to talk about this in your videos?
As you know, if you've seen this, it stars Bruce Willis and some other actors who went on to become superstars. And during this movie, he's going to visit his wife, who has gone and taken a job in New York.
Yes.
While he still lives in the other city where they don't live anymore. And she's taking the children, and she's got a big job making mucho money. And he's going to visit them for the holiday. And while he's there at this ultra huge conglomerate, you have some terrorists that come and take people hostage because they claim they want some release of some hostages, but not really. They want the money.
Money. Yeah.
So this entire movie is action-packed. Yes, there is a story. There's fantastic acting. It's just a great movie. And what makes it a Christmas movie is that it takes place Christmas Eve. All the action takes place
Yes.
Christmas Eve during the Christmas party.
Yes, it's like, wait a minute, it really does.
Yes. And if Artemis Fowl hadn't been screwed up for the movie, it would have also been a Christmas movie.
Yes,
But I
because
digress.
it was a Christmas book. Now, for here, like you said, never seen it before until recently, and it was a really great movie. Even if didn't know anything about Artemis Fowl, the movie still is great on its own, and you can see why it became such a classic. And they even had it in sort of a mini documentary when they were doing the movies that made us, and they pointed out all the things, most of the stuff was either improvised or was real reactions because they didn't know what was real and what was fake, and all of it added to the authenticity of the movie.
And if you're not familiar with the movies that made us, stay tuned on my channel, SOFHAB, for when we share with you what you should be watching on Netflix soon.
Right. So for this, going in completely blind, and throughout part of what made the movie really fun. Well, it was fun on its own anyway.
Yes.
It was a great movie, great action, really high energy.
But it was difficult for you because I know there were probably spoilers everywhere, but I didn't tell you anything because I wanted you to just be surprised by what you saw.
Well, the only thing I knew, like maybe one or two bits of it, because there was like TV shows that referenced it, or like the Cleveland show where they did a whole almost 30-minute reenactment of the movie.
And the Artemis Fowl connection.
Right. So now we're going to get to that. Why do you keep bringing this up?
Well,
okay.
First, before that, what would you rate it for someone who hasn't watched it?
9 out of 10.
Yes, I rate it an A+.
Oh, you went letters.
Oh, it can be letters and numbers, but I think it's A+. This is not the type of movie you normally would have me watching, but I love this. I have seen it so many times, I don't even remember. And I will be watching it even more, as I usually do, every holiday season.
Yes. So for here, you're asking, well, what's the connection? Well, when we were seeing an interview with Owen Colfer, he described Artemis Fowl as Die Hard with fairies. And you don't know any better, and it's like, well, where do you get that from? Well, when we watched the movie, if you're a really hardcore fan of the book series, you watch the first Die Hard movie, and then you get through it, and there's so many parts of it that just end up being Artemis Fowl. From the name of the wife, who's Holly, the movie taking place on Christmas Eve, it all taking place in one place, the hostage situation, Hans Gruber was the template for Artemis Fowl, all the big moments in the first book were the catalyst from the movie. Heck, they even had the Stockholm Syndrome line in there, and they just had the hostage.
And then when you said the one who played Carl on Family Matters, who was the police officer that helped, and they had the bromance moment at the end. You said, he's the template for all the fairies.
Yes, because when you read about how they're all described, all leprechauns are elves and they're officers. And I think about him, and it pretty much fit all the catalyst that the leprechaun needs to be. Is like it comes from him. All these different people in the movie were inspirations for characters. The only one you really couldn't tell much of was Mulch. I think he was original, but everyone else seemed to be the inspiration for some character,
including Bruce Willis. And it was so funny. You say it was the inspiration for Groot. I mean, long before we knew this, and we were doing our dream casting for Artemis Fowl. Watch our video because we're going to tell you that too. I said Bruce Willis should have played Groot in the movie.
Right.
And then when you told me when he was the inspiration, like, are you kidding? Oh my gosh! Because
yeah,
I thought he would have been perfect for Groot in the live action movie.
Right. So when you're seeing this movie and you know the books, it really is just Die Hard with fairies. Like they just took it and made it into a fantasy movie, and that's it. Like it was almost in itself like a parody, but still taken seriously. Now for the movie itself, you know, even without the Artemis Fowl stuff, it still holds up, and you can see why. It's really hard to believe that it has 5 movies now. Because at this point, it's like, okay, what can Bruce Willis not do?
Right.
He's doing near impossible things now. It's like he's superhuman at this point. Even being like a cop, you think he's just a regular old cop, and then everything elevates in this movie, and now they're fighting hackers, there's heists, there's global issues, there's there's all sorts of things happening now in the franchise. It's like, are you sure this is still Die Hard? Because there's a lot of things happening now.
What was really interesting when we watched the movies that made us on this particular movie, they said that he was not the first choice, and they really didn't want him to play, but the director was insistent that this is who he wanted, and we're so glad he was, because he was perfect. They were saying he was too soft-spoken, and he had, you know, he really had the sense of humor on the show he was on at that time, and they didn't see him fitting, but he was brilliant, and he was perfect, and he put his own spin on it, as he's done with many of the roles when you've seen him in many other movies.
Right.
But this is definitely a holiday movie. This is definitely a holiday movie for people who debate it. How can you debate it when it takes place on Christmas Eve at a Christmas party, and by the time it's done, it's Christmas Day? It's a Christmas movie.
Right.
And there are many people out there, I know besides us, who watch this as a part of their holiday tradition.
Yes, we've seen online,
including Justin, our friend Justin on Twitter.
Right, and we've seen that, you know, many people were debating that last year actually in 2020, I should say, they had a bit of a debate on Twitter, like what movies that are seemingly other genres now consider Christmas movies because they take place during Christmas. And they had Die Hard as one of the top ones, of course. They also had Shazam. They had Into the Spider-Verse and other films that you didn't realize took place during the holidays or Christmas. And they said, well, these should be considered Christmas movies too because they're all taking place during the holiday or on the eve of it. So it really set the bar for making Christmas movies you don't realize are Christmas movies.
Yes. 2 standouts about this movie that makes it so fantastic. One, as we mentioned, is the casting. Bruce Willis not being who they really wanted. Alan Rickman had played villains before, like the Sheriff of Nottingham and other roles, so he was the perfect villain. And it's hilarious that Artemis Fowl's, you know, personality is based on him, because all we were watching it, I could see it. Although he's a criminal mastermind, he's not evil, so that was the difference. And then the one who played, and I'm sorry, Reginald Van Johnson, that's his name, Reginald Van Johnson, who plays the police officer that helps him out during the movie. He said in the movies that made us segment that this was his last role, or he was going to go home, that he wasn't making it in Hollywood, and Die Hard was his last chance, and it catapulted him, I should say, to superstardom. And you had people in here that really weren't well known at the time, but now that are really famous because of this movie and have gone on to have great careers. The second thing is, this is not a movie you would suspect to be a holiday movie, and it's got so many wonderful parts in it that you just don't think will be put together.
Mm-hmm.
You have to remember when this movie was made that it wasn't commonplace for this type of movie to be made. It was something different
Right.
and new and fresh when it came out. And regardless of what age you first saw it, whether you were young like me or old or whatever, it was something different and new that really just got your attention. Do I recommend you let your little kids watch it? No.
No.
I would say 13 and older. There is some cursing, but not a lot.
Right.
There is a lot of shooting. There is some
Explosions.
blood and explosions. But the movie itself, it's one of these, it's an action fest. That's what I would call it. It's
Right.
just an action movie with some other genres that have been mixed in that fit and work. And again, with some things that were the first of their time, their first of their kind being done during this movie that are now
Right.
commonplace.
Right.
Tropes and standard, but when this movie was made, it wasn't. And I think that's one of the things that helped it become a household movie and a household name, and something that's just taken as, you know, it's got to be one of the top 100 movies of all time. I don't
Yes.
know. Check it out. But
It
I'm
should
sure
be.
It's got to be.
It should be, as much as it's referenced and well known in pop culture. It really should be. So, yeah, with this it's a fantastic film, and just adding the Artemis Fowl stuff was just a bonus for us. It's sort of like a reverse, like I
We
guess.
were laughing the whole movie because every time.
And there were
this is
good
that
lines.
character, this is this character. This is that character.
Yeah,
And
this
for
this
me-
scene and that scene, and we knew each scene. So now we know each. Basically, majority of the scenes in the book were just like a parody of the Die Hard movie.
And it made it so much fun to watch even more this time because of the matchup for Artemis Fowl books 1 through 8.
Yeah, and like I said, and I think, like I said, the biggest ones besides the Hans Gruber for the villain character type, which they did fit in. Like I said, I think for me personally would be, like I said, the namesake for Holly. I just couldn't believe that. And then they get to this point where they're kind of going back and forth between him and the building, and it's kind of really escalating. And they have where this sort of mini news station that's kind of talking about the coverage and about the villain. And there's one point where this guy brings in a book he wrote about, is a hostage, terrorist, hostage. It's about, it's supposed to be how they identify with the hostage taker, and they actually end up helping them. To me, that sounds like Prison Break, the TV series or something.
Which I did watch.
Right, but when I heard that, I was like, oh gosh, that one line I always laugh at, and Mom always laughs at, about Holly having Stockholm syndrome, came from that one scene.
And then all I thought when we saw the scene was like, that's Dr. J. Argan, the one
Yes.
who's telling the story for Artemis Fowl. Oh my gosh.
Right.
So, yes, it was just so much fun to watch, knowing all these matchups and truth on Call for a Game is brilliant as always.
And then the final thing I would bring up is, it made me think, if Artemis is Hans Gruber, and then Holly is, Holly, that's the name of the character. I think about how the book planned out. So for Owen's version, it's sort of like if Holly, the human, fell for Hans Gruber. That's a weird thing to think about now. I was like, wait a minute, is this a fanfic now?
So, if you have seen this movie, and most likely you have, let us know what you think in the comments below. Do you remember when you saw it? And is it one of your favorite movies like it is mine? Let us know in the comments. If you haven't seen it, and I can't believe you haven't, it's available everywhere to purchase. I'm not sure where you can stream it, but if you haven't seen it, you really should see it, and then let us know what you think in the comments. And yes, this is an odd movie if you haven't seen it, to go, I can't believe that they are doing this for the 25th of December. Yes, we are. We wanted to do something different. Last year we did Klaus, which was a wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it, it's available on Netflix. And this is like the other end of the spectrum,
Right.
for a holiday movie.
Went from wholesome to this.
Action-packed, but we think it fits. So be sure to watch it if you haven't, and
Be sure to like, subscribe, click notification updates on future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
absolutely. But most of all, have a wonderful holiday season. Today is the 25th. We hope you're having a wonderful time with your family and loved ones.
Yes.
that you're safe and happy and having a day full of love and joy
Yes.
and wonderment. We love you. We're so grateful for you, and we pray that you have a wonderful, safe, and happy holiday season.
Yes. Have a happy holidays, everybody.
And a holly jolly Christmas.
So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Rescue Entertainment.
And a Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.